I never wanted a house that stood out. I wanted one that belonged, tucked so quietly among the trees it felt like it grew there, like it knew the wind and the slope of the earth better than I ever could. So, I built it myself. A simple, low-slung cabin just above the southern curve of Easton Lake, powered by solar panels, fed by rainwater, shaded by old pines that had seen more winters than I did birthdays. No mailbox, no road signs. You had to know it was there, and that was the whole point. When I hammered in the last nail, everything was legit, inspected and stamped by the county's environmental team. I wasn't just building a home. I was preserving a shoreline. What the HOA across the lake didn't know was that my little patch of land wasn't all I owned. Through a family trust quietly maintained for decades, I held title to almost the entire southern shore. My grandfather started it, parcel by parcel, keeping it wild, unspoiled. The fences I put up were natural, more for deer than people. That's how he wanted it. That's how I kept it. A few weeks after finishing the cabin, I found an old cedar box buried in the back of the shed. Inside were his survey maps, yellowed, curling, smelling faintly of tobacco and rain. One map caught my eye, a thick black ink boundary line cutting right through what's now Lake Haven Estates, scribbled at the bottom, "Private, do not alter. Family protected since '72. I smiled, felt like I could hear his voice whisper, "Don't let them take it, son." 3 days later, I got a letter, cream envelope, gold seal from Lake Haven Estates Property Association. Polite, official, but dripping with that fake sweetness that makes your teeth ache. Signed by Claire Henley, president of the HOA. The board had unanimously resolved to request I remove the residential obstruction on Parcel 14B to restore communal lake access for the neighborhood's benefit. And as if that wasn't enough, they offered $85,000 for relocation expenses. They wanted me to demolish my own home on my own land, all for their lake access. I laughed. Yeah, I actually laughed. Then I wrote back one sentence, "This is private land. I do not consent to any easement or access." Sent it certified. Thought that would end it. Of course, I was wrong. A week later, a laminated sign appeared nailed to a cedar post along my trail, Lake Haven Community Access, all residents welcome, in green and gold, just like their letterhead. I tore it down. Next morning, 2 new signs, one on the trail, one screwed into a tree. Someone even left a branded trash bin saying, "HA provided, keep our lake clean." They were staking claims like colonizers, but I had trail cams. And that's how I caught them, clear as day. Claire Henley herself, sun visor on, striding down my path like she was unveiling a park, clipboard in hand, waving to a small crowd of neighbors behind her. I listened to the audio, her saying, "This land is communal. That house? Temporary structure. We're just waiting on paperwork." I stared at the footage, not shocked. I'd already burned through that. But because I recognized one face, Ben Marlowe, HOA board member, maybe 30, always looking guilty at the grocery store. He wasn't smiling here. He looked cornered. I emailed him. "Saw you at the lake. Want to talk?" 2 hours later, not over email, face-to-face at Creekside Cafe. He was nervous, folded into a corner booth, barely touched his coffee. "Finally," he said, "they know it's not their land. Came up 2 years ago during a boundary review. Your trust flagged the claim. Claire buried it." He slipped me a thumb drive with a board call recording. "You'll want to hear this." I asked him why he was risking it. He didn't blink. Because they're not just wrong, they're lying, using us to do it. That night, someone left a dead fish on my porch. No note, just a gutted fish stuffed with a flyer for the HOA's lake picnic. It wasn't just pettiness, Anna Maria. It was a warning. So I doubled down, dug through every deed, zoning file, water rights record from the past 40 years. Found a crack, then a canyon. Turns out Lake Haven Estates was pieced together by a developer named Randall Berkey, a guy my granddad called a grinning fraud. Berkey had carved and flipped parcels fast, but never bought the shoreline. That crescent of land, wrapping beneath their pool house and kayak launch, stayed in our family trust. I scanned the maps, sent everything to my lawyer, and waited. Not long after, a white county truck rolled up. Inspectors showed up with reports about shoreline contamination and possible wetland violations. I showed them native grasses, filtration systems, erosion mats I'd installed myself. One inspector scratched his head, said, honestly, This is textbook. They filed it as a false report. Trail cams caught it again, Claire whispering to a flashlight-wielding man. He's bluffing. Just look official. The paperwork didn't matter if they could show presence. Ben sent me another email from Claire titled, Soft Pressure Strategy Instructions. Report anything. File noise complaints. Create visual clutter. Claims to make me feel isolated. And then, if that didn't work, cross the line. At dawn. A backhoe rolled onto my trail. No permits. Just 3 men in vests and a fake HOA document claiming they were clearing space for community shoreline access. I stormed out in sweatpants, heart pounding. They pointed to a mock-up stamped by some made-up subcommittee. Claire stood 50 feet away, arms folded, watching like a queen at a ribbon cutting. You forged documents, I said, shaking. Her voice didn't flinch. This is disputed land. We're asserting rights under community historical access. You invented that doctrine last month. Call your lawyer. She smiled. You've got ours on file. She'd overplayed her hand. That night, Ben sent me a new Zoom video, Claire on record saying, if he won't comply, we break him. Legal, psychological, shame, whatever works. Next morning, I walked into my attorney's office, dropped 2 binders and 2 hard drives on his desk, and said, we're suing. I want every one of them held accountable. By the time we hit court, local news caught wind. Headlines read, HOA wants house demolished, but is it even their land? Claire walked in like she owned the place, visor still on. My lawyer, Erica Grant, didn't blink. Played deed after deed, video after video. We rolled Claire's Zoom call clip. The courtroom went silent. Ben took the stand, testified the title surge was deliberately hidden, construction orders faked, no vote ever held. Claire snapped, you little traitor, you don't understand. Judge slammed the gavel, then Erica played the final proofs, 1 real permit, 1 forged. Claire had submitted the fake under someone else's name. Signature didn't match. The judge stared at it, then delivered the verdict. Criminal trespass, document fraud, HOA leadership dissolved, $1.2 million damages. Claire was handcuffed in court, the other board members banned from future HOAs. Just like that, the shoreline was quiet again, but the story didn't end there. I spent weeks restoring the land. Ben helped, so did a few volunteers who heard what happened. The county eventually declared the shoreline an official ecological preserve. University students came to study the birds. Neighbors dropped by not to argue, but to apologize. One old man brought me a pie. A teenager gave me a watercolor painting of the lake titled, Still Belongs to Nature. Then, one day, I saw her Claire wearing a county vest, picking up trash as part of her restitution. She didn't look at me. I didn't call her out. I just walked over, held out a shovel, and said, it was never really mine either. We're just borrowing it. Might as well leave it better than we found it. She took the shovel. That was enough. Now there's a sign at the trailhead. Easton Preserve visitors by permit, maintained by the community, protected since 1972. Underneath, a bronze plaque reads, preserved by the actions of Jonah Ridgway, 2024. I didn't ask for it, but I stood there a long time when I saw it, and I finally felt like I wasn't defending my land anymore. I was just living on it. If you've ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA or seen your community turned into a battleground over land and lies, drop your thoughts below. Who was right? Who went too far? And where do we draw the line between community rights and personal freedom? Let's talk.